of the class, I can send you the link. And that's pretty cool because I don't have to do much editing. Okay, so we're set. So welcome again. My name is Isabel Bombardier. You can call me Isabel if you haven't, you didn't catch it the first time. And so today we're gonna work a little bit on the CS50. Is like I was saying, for some people, I was including me, I did very little. I was used to those IDEs that we used in the 80s and 90s and late 90s, and they were very cumbersome, so they always make me nervous. And when I started using IDEs recently, when I took the CS50 class, I was still nervous. And then after a while, you practice, and I watch a lot of the tutorials, a lot of the videos. I put some of the videos here. So you go up here, you're gonna see the videos, and those are tutorials. They don't have any sounds. You can stop it and redo it again, stop it and just follow what I'm doing. And that's to help you with the process of getting used to the IDE. The good thing, the CS50 runs online. So I got a lot of questions like, can I download it? So what I think the question was, some of the IDEs work on your computer. The CS50 IDE works on the cloud, on the Amazon cloud. So it's online. You don't have to download anything on your computer, and which is a plus because then you don't mess up your file in your own computer. So it works online, so you don't have to download anything. Okay, so let's start for the beginning here. So you can, here on the how-to guide, you can watch this, and like I said, I try to do the videos over and over. You can play and stop, pause, stop, play it again until you get it right. And if you make a mistake, just close the browser and start again. It doesn't gonna hurt anything because it's designed for students who are learning, so they know that you're not gonna break anything. So the basic thing is just try and error until you get it over with. And that's mostly what goes on with computer science. So I put our class lesson right here on the Tuesday class. So if you click here, it opens up the lesson. And I sent it to you by email too. Let me close this. And so you can see here what we're gonna do. So the prep work, so last week, the only thing I was asking everybody was to be comfortable using the CS50 IDE. And by comfortable, open the CS50 IDE, make a file. Maybe it didn't go well, try again. Maybe it didn't go well, try again. Then you can go and watch the videos that I put here. They're also here, they're on the previous lesson. So if you go here to course schedule also, you can go to the lesson from last week, which is week 1.0. And I have videos there too. And you can see the different tutorials. And those are just demos. I just did a screenshot of my computer and I just took a recording of the screen and just watch it over and over and over until watch it and do it. And don't worry, you're not gonna break anything. If you break anything, just close the window, the browser, and do it again. And then here, there is this video that once you feel comfortable, he can guide you more into the IDE, show you all the commands for the IDE. And this is something like if you're learning a new dance or a new workout, something you have to try, like you go to a Zumba class or you take a class in biking or swimming, you're gonna make a lot of errors at the beginning. So just know that that might happen, and that's okay if it happens to all of us. So, okay, so that's my speech. And when I ask you, when I ask you homework, I ask you as a suggestion. I think all of you are adults, so I don't have to lecture or anything. However, in computer science, practice, 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 practice. So I can be talking here and you can listen to me, but if there is no practice, there is no learning, because this is one of the things you have to ride your bike. So, so it's okay. I know everybody's busy, so you don't have to tell me I didn't have time or I'm gonna do it. It's okay. You are in charge. You're an independent learner. Okay, so I'm gonna take some of this code and we're gonna do it together. So there are two things that we're gonna look for is to getting comfortable with the CS50 IDE. And the other thing is getting comfortable writing code in Python. So let's start with the homework. So one of the things that is very sweet about Slack is that I can copy this. I can copy the code. So this is a code. I can write into, like, for example, I can tell them this is code on Slack. So there is and I can take the snippet, copy and paste it into the IDE. So that's what I'm gonna do. So first, I'm gonna Google CS50 IDE. So I'm gonna Google that. You can do a bookmark on your browser. So I just click CS50 IDE. And then it's gonna ask me to log in. So I log in. And then it says here, one of the requirements for CS50 IDE is that you have to have a GitHub account. So that's why I ask you to create a GitHub account. So we're not gonna use GitHub except to sign into this IDE. So you put your username for GitHub, your password, and then you click sign in. And then it does this, it always does this. It takes this long because it was something that is not a product. It's a non-profit, so it's a group of people decided to help their teacher. So then you have your IDE, and I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. You don't have to make it this big, I'm just making it this big so you all can see it better. So here we have our files, and you're not gonna have these files. For you, this is gonna be empty. So when you start with the CS50, you're not gonna have all this. So don't worry if you don't have this. This is my workspace that I have worked in the last 3 weeks. So don't worry about that. So then we have here the terminal. So it tells you the terminal, and then here's where you're gonna start your files. So this is a tree, a directory tree. So let's see the first command to know where we are. Anybody knows, you can type it here on the Tuesday class. So what is the first command to start our directory? Okay, somebody already. ls, yeah, so we're gonna go ls. That's gonna tell me a list of directories. So you see how hello is the first file here. So it's gonna tell me the name of everything that is showing on the first floor, first level directory. So this is like the first floor. And so it's gonna tell me by A to Z, so hello. So this is not, don't try to match this with that. This is their own, I don't know why I did it that way. So we're just gonna find hello, this is a folder. That's what is shaded blue. Untitled is a file. It's just a file, it's a raw file. It doesn't have an extension, so I don't know what it is. It might just be empty. CS50 as SRC6 is right here. My file is right here. GS file is right here. And then this is my file, which is the first one. And then this is a folder. So again, you don't have to have maybe when you do ls, it doesn't come out. It comes out empty. That's fine. Everybody has a different directory. It doesn't have to look like mine. If I want to go into this file, so for example, let's do the simple thing, which is create a file. So I'm going to be right here. This is where I am at the top of my tree. I'm going to create a file. So I'm going to call it new file. And it's going to default as untitled. You see that? So then I'm going to save it. So I go file, save as, and then it tells me the location. So this is one of the plus of the IDE is telling me the location. So it's telling me where you want to put the file. So I'm going to put it right here just to simulate what if you don't have any files. So most of you won't have any of these folders. So I'm just going to put it at the top of that tree. And you can do that. If you don't have all these folders, you can just do here at the top. So I'm just going to name it my file. And anybody remembers if I want to do a Python file, what is the extension, file extension that I need to do? py. Very good. So I'm going to put that py, and that's going to tell my IDE what compiler to run. So if I do later on HTML, you put HTML, you do CSS, you do JavaScript, you name it different. So you can see here, because I choose the first directory, it showed up right here. So for some of you, it's like, ignore all this, and you're gonna have this file here. So if I do ls now, you're gonna see my file that py is gonna show up here. You see that? So, okay. So anybody is okay so far? So you can tell me on Slack. Yes, anybody has no clue? Okay, so now I'm gonna run it. So, well, it's empty, right? It's empty. I don't have anything. So I need to put something in there, some code in there, because I can't run it. It'll be empty. So I'm gonna go here to my homework discussion, and I'm gonna pick up this code. So you see, this is a cool thing about Slack, and that's why we use Slack for computer science. I just gonna select this, the code, only the code. So I'm gonna copy this code. So it tells me copy this code, so it recognizes as a code, and I'm gonna paste it. And it didn't paste the whole thing. Oh, it pasted the whole thing and I can't see it. So let me just make it a little smaller so I can see it. There it is. No, it's missing the rest. Okay, let me try again. Print. That didn't work very good. So let me try again. Oh, okay. So you do Control Z or Command Z. And I'm gonna do it again. And then Control V. And there it is. So now you can see I just took that code and copy pasted right here to this empty file. I didn't have to type. I didn't have to do anything extra. I just copy paste because it comes from Slack and Slack recognize what a code is. The same thing is gonna happen to the lesson. So if you go here, this code also, see, it's written in Python. You can copy, actually it tells you here, sometimes it tells you, so you can take that and copy. Only that happens if you have a specific file, that you can just transfer from code to code. So anybody knows why is this red? So we have this red dot here. Anybody knows what that means? Not yet saved. And so how do we save it? Anybody remembers? Yeah, so thank you, Jeff. So we're going file, and then we're gonna save. And we're not gonna save as, because we already saved it in the right place with the right extension. So we're just gonna click save, or we can do, see here, Control S or Command S. And then you see now the red dot is gone. Okay, so now we can run it. So now the code exists. So I'm gonna do an ls again, and you're gonna see here my file, this one. So anybody remembers how to run it? Yeah, exactly. Python. Then I have to type it the exact way. So I have to be very precise. So sometimes you can just copy this, especially if it's something that is hard to spell. So I just do Command C, and then I just do that. And then I'm gonna press enter. So I'm gonna press enter, and then I get my first Python file run. And the output is hello world, because that's all we said it was gonna do. Okay, so you make a file, you can create a file here, new file, copy paste your code. So I'm gonna find here my code. I'm gonna copy paste this code. Then I'm gonna save it. And I have to put a name. So my file, and because I already have a file called my file, I'm gonna put 2, and then extension py for Python. I'm gonna save it right here on this level, and then I'm gonna do ls, and it's gonna show up right here, and then I'm gonna do, I have to move this up a little bit so it shows up on the recording. Not this one, this one. There. So now I'm gonna do Python, and I'm gonna take the name of this file exactly as it is, my file 2 py, and then I press enter, and then I get hello world. So now you can see there are 2 files there. Okay, so just, if you haven't done this, practice this, just do these steps where I just did over and over and over until you feel comfortable and you understand, because wisdom always comes delayed. You find most of us understand things after a couple days. In the beginning, we're all adrenaline or nervous about it. So it's hard to understand what's going on. So we learn by repetition, and then a couple days later, you learn by wisdom. So you know what you're doing. So, okay, so we're good now. We're gonna do something else. And I'm gonna go now to my folder here. And I'm gonna run a couple of of this loop. Okay, so let's start. And this is something we're gonna be doing often in the next class. It's gonna be less of me talking and more running, and you all bring questions, and then we can answer those questions for you. So we can go now to the Python part. So here, and remember, if you just joined, you can find this document right here on Tuesday class. If you go all the way at the beginning of today, you're gonna find the document, the lesson for today, which is what I'm showing. So you go here and you can take this and you copy. So I'm doing, you can't see me, but I'm doing Command C or Control C. I'm gonna go to my CS50, to my IDE, and I'm gonna make a file. I can copy and paste. But before I do that, let's talk about this code. The name of this file is my second file, and I have it already on my IDE. So I'm not gonna copy paste because I already have it on my IDE, I think. So one of the things, anytime you wanna comment or put something that you don't want Python to run or to read, this is called comments. So it's mostly people put information or notes about their code. And the way to do this is by putting this pound or hashtag right here. So when you do that, let's say comment off your code. So the code is inactive. So it's like you put the line off. And if you remove the pound, is on. For now, I suggest you, when you're doing this and you're writing your own code as a beginner, try not to delete the lines. Just use the pound to comment it off. And because that's gonna show you how you progress in your learning, and you never know if you're gonna need that later. So it might look pretty like this, but before it got developed, it was written, there was a lot of comments and a lot of code. It's like if you ever done an essay for English class, your first draft is full of chicken scratch everywhere, notes, and then the final version will be all clean. So people wouldn't even think that you would spend maybe 2 days doing something. So this is the same thing. You use those pound signs to make comments and turn off your line. So it's a very good way to practice and create code. So this is why it's here. So the pound turn a line of code off or uncomment. We also say comment off or uncomment a line. Practice, so on this code, practice using the interrogation mark to turn, no, this one is not practice using the pound, sorry, that's my mistake, to turn a line on and off. So I had to change that. By default, Python's print, which is the one it says is here, this function is here, this command, ends with a new line. So this print, anytime you put a print, it's like those old typewriters, it's gonna go like this and then move to the next line and then move to the next line. So if you put a question mark, it's gonna add a new line. Python's gonna add a new line. That's what print means. So let's try that and see what happened. So you all can see what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna find my file. So when you have a file like that, you already made it, like myself, you just double click here. and you see it. So you see that's the same code. So I'm gonna comment this one off. And then remember last time, if you guys were here last time, I was trying to run a code to show you, but I was looking at the wrong code. So I need to make sure I'm in the right directory. So right now, where am I? I'm here at this directory here. And I need to drive down all the way here. So so I need to go inside what folder? Anybody knows what is the folder? One of these, I need to go inside. Anybody knows? CD, and what will be the file name? CD A my file, very good. A my file. And then I'm gonna press enter. And of course I have to make sure it's spelled the same way. There it is. So now you can see now the terminal change. The header, I'm right here. Before I was here at the top. Now you can see it says a.myfile. That is my cue to tell me my position. So I'm gonna do ls now. And then I'm gonna get a list of all the files here. So I'm gonna repeat this again so everybody can see what I just did. So right now, I'm at the top of the directory right here. And the file that I want to run is inside the a.myfile. So I need to go inside this folder. So I need to drive to that folder. And the way you drive, you type CD lowercase, then you type exactly the name of the folder. And remember, this is a folder, so we don't have to type py. And then press enter. And then I do ls. Why do I do ls? Anybody knows why should I do ls now? I don't have to, but why is a nice thing to have ls? Yeah, to see the files in the folder, right? And also to confirm and see where I am, to confirm that I'm right, that I'm where I'm supposed to be. Exactly. Thank you for putting your comments on Slack. So that's why I'm doing this very methodical. If you do this every day, and you know your files very good, you don't have to do ls. So I'm gonna now find my file here. So there is a list of all the files inside that folder. So I'm gonna run my second file. So I'm gonna Python, my second file py. So I need to make sure it's spelled the same way. Remember last time I was looking at the code, but I was actually running the wrong file. So that's why you have to be very careful, very methodical about this. So I'm just gonna click enter. And I have to be here. See, I was clicking somewhere else. Okay, so what you see, this is the output. So let's go and see what that means. So I turn off this line here. So forget about that line. Just focus on this line. It says print interrogation mark. So anybody knows what just happened? So this 4i in range 4, what does it mean? If you guys remember Slack, in Slack it was repeat. So what are we repeating? So I'm seeing the Slack. I have the Slack on my iPad, so I'm seeing what everybody is typing. Yeah, it's printing the question mark. Yeah, it repeats a function 4 times. It repeats 4 times. So what is repeating 4 times? What kind of action is repeating 4 times? Printing. Printing the quotation mark. Yeah, the command that follows, which is, this is the command that follows. Yeah, exactly. Very good. So as you notice, this print has a quotation mark. So anytime we're doing strings, text, most of the time is text, we're not doing numbers. The computer cannot read strings, text-based, it cannot read. And there are other things that computer cannot read. So we had to tell the computer, this is a string. And the way you do it is with double quotation mark or 1 quotation mark. So in Python, you can do 2, but you have to be consistent. So if you started your program with 1 quotation mark, 1 single quotation mark, you have to do it all around, because otherwise it gets messed up. So you can do, so anything that you put between the quotation mark is what the computer is gonna print out. So you can see here, is only the interrogation, is not the quote printing. So it's in between. So this is, and why you're, so you can see here, it was quotation mark, quotation mark, quotation mark. So you remember what I told you about print? So what is print doing in addition to printing the quotation mark? Moving to the next line. So that's gonna be something that's gonna be very helpful to you, and sometimes it's not gonna be helpful. It depends what you wanna do. So, but remember, print is gonna move to the next line. So anytime you put a print, it's gonna output what is in between the string, or maybe whatever you wanna print, if you wanna print integers, and then it's gonna move to the next line. Okay, so I'm gonna turn this one off, and I'm gonna turn the one above on. And then I have to save it. Remember, anytime I make a change, I have to save it, and this red dot is gonna remind you to do that. So I just go here, save, or you just do Control S. And now I'm gonna run this. So I'm gonna give you a hint. There is not gonna be a next line. Anybody remembers? Anybody have an idea why there's not gonna be a next line? What is the difference between line 6 and line 7? And one of the things is, if you don't know what it does, you have to run it to find out. So I have different answers. So let's run it and see what happens. Okay, let's do that. So I'm gonna run it, and then in CS50 ID and some others ID, I'm just gonna use an arrow, an up arrow, and it's gonna repeat this, so I don't have to type it again. So I'm just gonna do an up arrow on my keyboard, enter. So everybody has an idea what's gonna happen, right? Everybody has a prediction. So think about that prediction, and not in a judgmental way, like, oh, I made a mistake. Think about, because this is an exercise you have to do over and over, predict, And then you're gonna gauge yourself. And that's where the learning happens. Some of you might know already what it is, so you're past that point. But some of you need to understand what's going to happen. So it's no judgment. This is a free judgment zone. So I'm gonna press enter and see what happens. So the output is for quotation, question mark. So some of you got it right. Some of you were halfway there, which is good. So what is the learning? What is the end doing here? So the end is doing is putting an output right beside the previous output. So it's putting, so if I do, so this the next output is gonna come right beside the previous output. And that's because, did you guys notice what is inside the quotation mark? Yeah, it's preventing a line, but it's also, there is a better way to say that is nothing. There is no space. So where this end is designed to add a space, but we are taking the space out and we just do saying, don't put any space. So we're tricking the computer. This is an empty space. And so the next output is gonna come close, right beside the previous output. So if I put here, let's change it a little bit. And this is something you might wanna do on your own. Play around with this code and see how you can change it and what do you get. And that's the best way to learn what all these little things, these little commands and syntax is doing. So I'm gonna put a star and think now in your mind, you don't have to tell me. Think in your mind, where's the star gonna go? Where is the star? Where is that gonna be? So we're printing that quotation mark and we're printing a star. Think about where the star is gonna come. So I'm gonna run it. Yes, yeah. I can see some of you. So see, the star is going right beside it. So whatever is on this quotation mark is gonna come right beside it. So if I put empty, so nothing's gonna be. So it's our way to get something print in a row after each other. So it's a way for us to devise that. So one of the things here you can see is that you see this, the previous output, it was quotation mark, quotation mark, quotation mark, and then I get my prompt here from the terminal. So here, this prompt is coming right beside the quotation mark, and this one right beside. So any idea, what do I need to get that prompt, that terminal prompt move away so it comes out nice and clear like this? So our output is isolated. So there is a line that we need to turn on. See if anybody knows what that is. Yeah, so line 8. So let's try line 8 and see what happened. So I'm gonna turn it on. So I'm just gonna take the pound here. Okay, good. Everybody is on track. Awesome. So I'm gonna run it again. There it is. So now it comes. Wonderful. This is what we want, right? This is exactly what we want. So very good. So now that you have this, you can experiment, move on, see what else you can do. Okay, so we learn about print, we learn about and we learn about loops. So we go to the next one. So I have here the hint. And then we're gonna do a pyramid or a triangle. No, these are triangles. So later on, we're gonna do a pyramid. So any questions so far? Any questions so far before I'm gonna move to the next one? Okay, well, if you have any question, you can ask anytime, no worries. So we're gonna declare a variable in Python. If you took C or C++ in the past, the way you declare a variable in C is much different. Of course, Scratch is way different. When you declare a variable on Python, you just type it. You just type it and you put the value. You don't have to explain if it's what kind of data type is, if it's an integer, a string. Python will figure it out later. So you just type the variable. So we're gonna do a triangle. So imagine now, if you wanna try something on your own, the next thing that you should try on is create a grid. So now that you have these 4 on a row, think about, after this class, think about how you can create a perfect grid of 4 by 4. So it will be 4 arrows. Think about that. So right now I'm going to show you how to make a triangle. But let me know if you figure out how to do a perfect string, a square, a 4 by 4. So we're going to do a 3 by 3 triangle. So for this case, we're going to create a nested loop. So we're going to have 2 loops. So here we have 1 loop, and here we're going to create a loop inside a loop that calls nested loop. So we have the I loop and the J loop. So the J loop is going to run, and when it stops running, then it's going to go to the I loop. When the I loop stops running, it's going to go to the J loop. So it's going to change. It's like if you have one of those toys that you can do here, and then you have to do this one. It's kind of like that. So to do that, you have to have a counter, because otherwise you will stop running sooner or later. So we have a counter here, and the counter, that's where we're going to create a variable. So let's start from the beginning, see if I can explain this to you in an easier way. So we declare a variable, and we just said n is equal to 0. And that variable is going to help us to keep the nested loop running. So our first loop is the I, so the outside loop, and it's going to be 3 times. So remember, when you say range 3, that means I is 0, I is 1, and I is 2. So then when it goes, that's a question. No, in Python, the only thing you do is put the value of like this. You just put n equals something. So you start with the value. You assign a value to the variable. Sometimes you can do this inside the loop. It doesn't matter where you do that. It can be at the front, at the top, or it could be inside. When we declare variables, we usually declare it at the beginning of the script. So you always do declare the variable at the top, but it doesn't matter. It's just a syntax. So I don't know, do I answer that question, Praveen? You always have to add a value to the variable, always. when you have a declared variable, you have to assign a value. So, so you assign the value 0. And then we move to the first loop. So that loop is gonna enter. So we enter this loop. Then the value of n is 1. So remember that the value of n is 1. And then we're gonna go to the J loop. So this one doesn't have any actions. You see that? It doesn't have anything to do. It has the print. That's the only thing. So we move to the J loop, which is inside. And you notice here there is a trick, right? Because I want my J value to increase. So it's a trick that you guys you're gonna see why. It has to do, if you create a triangle, you want the first one to be maybe just £1, just one output. The second row is gonna have 2 outputs. The third row is gonna have 3 outputs. You see that? So I want my J to increase. So I get kind of like we were doing before here with the question marks. So the first question marks, the first row is gonna be 1 question mark or 2, and then increase and then increase, so we get that triangle shape. So let's run it. It'll make more sense when we run it. So remember, there is a counter here, and then there is the inside loop. So this is my triangle PY. So I have to find my triangle PY. See if it's the same one. Yeah. So I'm gonna run and see if I don't have to do ls again, because I feel comfortable that I'm in the right location. So I'm just gonna do Python, and I'm gonna type the name of the file, triangle PY, and I'm gonna put enter. And you see, we get you all see this small triangle. It has 3 rows, and the base is 3. So it's a 3 by 3 triangle. So you all saw that, or it was too fast? Give me thumbs up on Slack or tell me to repeat. Okay, I got 1 thumb up. Okay, so let's see what's going on here. So the J loop is gonna print this quotation mark. See it here? So line 16 is printing the quotation mark. So this one has to increase. So remember, when we were here, we printed 1 row. So how do you do another row? You have to have an outside loop. So this outside loop here with the print, with this print, remember the print is gonna move to the next line, it's gonna move to the next line. So let's run it again. And you get that. So let's change it a little bit. Let's change something here. So let's put here a star and see what happens. So you see that the star here, what's the difference here? It's adding the space, the star at the end. But we don't want that. We want them all together, and that's why we eliminated that space. Okay. The other one, what about if we turn off this print. Let's turn it off and see what we're missing by turning it off. So what is missing is putting everything, you see that? So it's putting 1, 2, instead of putting it on triangle, it's putting all in one line. So this print, which is tied to this I loop, is not moving it. It's what is making the triangle. So think about it, if you want to do a perfect square, then you'll have to have something similar to this. But you won't have a counter, because a perfect square, you don't need to decrease or increase the number of quotation mark. But here we need to increase the quotation mark. So that's why we have that counter here. So let's do something different. Let's change this counter to 3. And let's put here minus and see what happened. Well, it don't have to be 4. Start with 4. So anybody has any idea what could happen? What kind of shape we'll get? An inverted triangle? Exactly. It will be an upside down. Well, that's what I think. So let's try it. I don't know if it's gonna work. So let's try it. And of course, what did I forget? I need to turn this on. Yeah, so you all were right. So it's an inverted. So you can play around with this counter and have different shapes. So this is a nested loop inside a bigger loop. So practice with that. You can take the code. I'm gonna put the code I'm gonna put the code on Slack. So I'm gonna put it here, homework. So you all can copy and play with it. Didn't put it as a code. See if we get it. It doesn't look like, put it as a code. There it is. So this is the code, and you can take this and put it on your CS IDE. Or you can take this one, you can paste it into your CS IDE. So I have here a hint. And to know more about Python, you can go here to watch this video from CS50. If you want to learn how to do something in Python, the best way is to Google, go to CS50 discussion, Stackflow, go to the docs, Python, but the best way is just Google, and the version we're using is 3.7. So you can Google 3.7. Okay, Frank, there is somebody have an error. So the first thing, Frank, is you're not getting the same thing I'm getting. You can put the code on Slack. So you can copy paste the code in Slack, and I can see what's the difference. So that's the other thing good in Slack. Anybody can email me their code that is failing, and you can put it on Slack. When it goes very easy. So you can put the code, copy paste, and put it on Slack so I can see, I can help. But just check to see if it looks like the one. Okay, so seems like she figured it out. Let me see. There is no pound in front of line 1. Yeah. Sometimes when we copy paste, we might miss something. So I hope it's running now. So I'm putting it on Slack, so you can take that code and then change it a little bit, play with it. Yeah, awesome, working out. But if anybody has any problem running any code, put it on Slack, let me know, and I'll take a look at it. You can just put it in. Oh, I'm glad it works. Seems like it's working. Yeah, go ahead and run it. If you get any errors, you can copy paste it. You can even paste. You can copy this and paste it as code on this. So if you get any syntax error here, you can send it, put it on Slack, and I'll take a look of it. That's helpful since I cannot be there with you. Print giving error. So when you copy the code, just copy the whole code, not just the line, because it might be something just out of whack that I'm missing. Yeah, it's upside down. If it's upside down if you're doing this. Let me see. Let me change it out because I changed it. So if you start with the value of n as 4, and then you subtract, it's gonna be inverted. If you start with the value of n as 0, and then you increase the counter, then is the other way. So I'm gonna put this one on Slack, on Homebrew. So this is the other. The triangle starts thin at the top and it goes thick at the bottom. Put it. Okay. So anybody has any questions so far? Okay, so if you have it, like for example, if you want to know how to do the strings in Python, you can just Google string, and you can put 3.7, which is the version we're running, because there are a lot of Pythons. So don't do Python 2, because that's all. And you can find here information about how to, it might help you. Yeah, if you want to send, you can send me the out. Yeah, so somebody send me the output. It looks great. But if you have any problem, just send me the code, but make sure you copy the entire code, no sections of it, so I can see what is up and down. Okay, great. So you were able to fix it. So the other thing I'm going to talk to you about is we have a challenge. Oh, here's the terminal exit key. So if you get into trouble, sometimes by accident, you might have a loop that is no stopping. So you wanna do, you wanna use maybe one of this. So Control L, I think Control Q, it'll quit. If you wanna force quit, do Control C. If you have a forever loop, like if you ID go crazy and it keeps speeding, doesn't stop, just do Control C. To exit the command shelf, if you get into the command shelf, is Control D or just to exit. But remember this, I just put this, since you guys are gonna be doing a lot of coding in CS50. So if you get, here's the terminal key, so anything to cancel. So for this week, try to see if you can figure out how to do a pyramid or Christmas tree. So we have now half of the pyramid. So think about how you can do the pyramid, and the key are the spaces. Also, there is another code I want to show you that is a little bit more succinct. Where is my succinct code? Oh, right. Oh, okay. I'll show you later because I don't have it now, right now. Think about how do you do I got a hint here how you can do the pyramid. Also think about if you want to ask a person how big you want your pyramid. You want it 4, you want it 10 rows, you want it 3 rows. So we use a library called Get-Into. So we import a built-in function, and here's a hint. And that's what we're gonna do next week. But in the meantime, if you feel comfortable, you can start thinking about those lines. For next week, we're gonna do functions and more strings. So I'm gonna stop recording, but if anybody else has any questions, I'm gonna stay in the line for 5 more minutes. Or you can ask me questions via on Slack, but thank you very much. And next week, we're gonna do YouTube. I'm gonna send you the link that day. Like, I'm gonna send it to you like an hour before we start. I'm gonna send you the link. So if you all have any questions. So you can call me on, you can talk to me on YouTube, on Zoom. Let's see. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You guys have a great evening, but I'm gonna stay a while in case you all need to any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I was able to move the triangle from one shape to the other. I'm wondering, I just changed the n from 4 to 0, and then the minus to plus, and I was able to do it. So I was wondering if I recopy the whole thing. For example, the original was from 4 and it was n was minus. But if I copy the whole thing again and change it and then run it, would it work, or do I have to change it to the original one?
Oh, okay. So let me see. Sorry, I was trying to stop the live stream, but it won't let me stop the live stream. So you mean like if you are here, let me go back to the one we're doing. So if you're here, you want to change something?
So for example, was I here, or the triangle one, right?
Yes,
so I changed the n from 4 to 0, and then I changed the minus to plus, and then I was able to have the kind of triangle that I wanted to have, right?
Okay.
So I went, and in the original one, I changed it. So can I leave it and then copy and paste it again and then change it? Would that still work or no?
Yes, yes. Also, what you can do is you can do like, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
So that's that's a good question. So this is where you can start working on your code and modifying as you are working on it. So a good thing is you can turn this off.
By adding the hashtag? Yeah. Okay.
The hashtag, and then you create a variable here, right? And then you save it. And then you can go back here and create another counter. Minus equal 1. And you can turn off this one.
Oh, this way that if I want to switch it back and forth, instead of change, I will have both options. I can just switch one off and turn the other one on
Yes.
rather
and
than
that's-
copying the whole thing.
Yeah. And this is what I want all of you to start doing. Working on this, like it's an essay, like you want to scratch out, you want to add, but don't delete anything until you feel like you understand what's going on.
Yes, I was scared of that. Thank you so much. I was scared of, I got rid of that, but then I forgot, what if I want to turn it back to what it was and I forgot what to do. Great, thank you so much.
So that's why don't erase anything, just add that pound. That pound is your best friend for now. Don't erase anything and just work, and you can always go back. Just take the pound off on whatever you want to do, but don't erase anything.
I was having trouble running the original one, not the triangle one, the other one that you were working on. I named it as Untitled, and every time I tried to run it, it didn't run. It just kept on saying error.
Yeah, you might want to name, did you put a PY?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you need to put a PY at the end, like this one.
But for this one, when I named it, I didn't have to put a PY. I just named it Triangle and it still worked.
But the file name should be PY. That
file name should be PY, okay. But this one, I did not name it PY, but it worked. But the other one didn't. So I should just rename that one PY?
Yes, I can't see what you're doing, but it should be. See how my files here are all PY?
PY,
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe you did something else that you told the compiler that it was a Python, because you don't, like, for example, I have this one here at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it. It says Untitled.
Right.
It's an empty file. It doesn't have, like, if I run it, the compiler wouldn't know what it is. If it's JavaScript, it's Python, it doesn't know.
And it doesn't run. Okay, I see. That's interesting because my Triangle one, although it doesn't have a PY at the end, I just named it Triangle because I don't have any other Triangle files there, and it worked.
Yeah, I will resave it and put a PY because sometimes, maybe tomorrow won't work.
Let me check it again. Maybe I did put PY and I'm just, let me see. No, it just says Triangle. I will look into it again and see, and I'll play around with it. See,
okay, but that's just a practice, a good practice, just to put PY at the end.
Okay.
Because when you move on to another IDE, that's what you're gonna have to do.
Okay, thank you. So that I have different things and we know which one is which one. Thank you. I'm very new to it. I have never done it before, so I'm very excited that something worked.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.